Last episode, last week, we talked about the idea of creating a beginner adventure from scratch. The idea being that there should be a starting adventure suitable for first-time DMs and first-time players playing from level 1 to level 3. Last time we wrote a bit of an outline about the factions in the town and in the wilderness, and in this episode we're going to create a starting town, both in Inkarnate, but as well in Obsidian in our note system, where we're going to write down who the people in the town are, what they're like, what they're doing, maybe put down some quests and stuff like that. Over the course of this adventure, the Dillhorn adventure, the premise is that I'm going to be creating the adventure here with you, with chat, and we'll be doing polls, and we'll be doing whatever else is going on. We'll ask chat what they think and what they want to do, and then put that right into the stream, into the adventure. The idea being that by the end of all of this, we will have created this beginner adventure together. And I think what we're going to do is the first sort of version of the adventure, we're going to just have be our notes, and they're going to be available to anyone who wants them. Just the stuff we write on stream, I'll post it on the Patreon as a free post. But then later on, I'm going to take it, I'm going to put art in it, I'm going to get some writing help, and I'm going to get some art help. We're going to put it together into a PDF that is then going to be easily runnable. Each dungeon, each 5-room dungeon is going to fit on a spread. The whole town is going to be laid out very nicely, easily referenceable, and that whole thing will be available on the Patreon. But just the basic notes will be free, and obviously they're free if you're watching this stream. Welcome to Mystic Arts. My name is Daði. I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for over 10 years. Now, hopefully, I wasn't muted during any of that. That would be ideal, right? Hi, everybody. I figured that if you're watching the VOD, I'll make sure to put a timestamp in where you can watch the intro of the show, and we can sort of get started. But before we do, there's just going to be some channel updates and talking with chat and sort of catching up in general. So, hi, everybody. How you doing? I'm sick. I'm actually, like, ill. AB is way more sick than I am. She's currently been relocated to the living room. She's making a lot of noises because she's like in pain. She's taking pain medication, drinking lots of water, and being responsible and healthy. But at any point, you might have to walk in here and have a lie down or go to bed or something. At which point, I'll hit a button here on the stream deck, and you'll get a little rotating head, and that means that AB needs to go to bed, and we'll take a little break. But until that happens, we're going to proceed as usual. So if I'm a little down, or if I'm if my voice gets a little hoarse or whatever, then you know that's why, because I'm slow at the moment. I'm sort of operating in slow mode. I went to get some food, and I found myself, I was fine. AB was like, could you get food? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I went to the local sort of strip mall here, and went and grabbed some takeout. And I thought I was fine until I was standing in queue, and I saw that I was sort of wobbling, and I was like, oh god, I am sicker than I thought. And it's having a little bit of a knock-on effect. There was going to be a video on Tuesday, tomorrow, and we're moving it. We're going to move it over to Thursday, just because I won't have time to write or shoot or edit a Thursday video in this state of mind. That Thursday video was probably going to be about dungeon turns or city exploration. Both of those videos are going to have to wait a little bit, just because we're taking a deep breath, making sure that we tend to our health. So I hope everybody's okay with next Thursday's video being a little bit more like a bonus video. It's not filmed here like many of our Tuesday videos. It's filmed out in the living room. I did a special setup for it a couple of weeks ago. I edited it real nice. It's called D&D Explained in 15 minutes, and I'm just sort of going through the basic mechanics so that the next time you're introducing your friends to D&D, hopefully I can offload some of the explanation by you sending them a short video that they can watch and sort of grasp the basic essentials. Because right now we're also trying to make sure we get the zine done. We're coming up on the end of the month, and I was going to have the video on Thursday be talking about city exploration or dungeon turns, both things that we use in the new zine, but I'm not ready, and I really want to make those videos be as good as I can make them, because these are two topics that I think a lot of people want advice on, and I think I've got some good advice in me. I just don't think I can get it out this week. That's mostly what it is. Thanks for the well wishes, everybody. That's really sweet. What else? Yeah, we're putting finishing touches on the zine. Magnus has it now. He's doing an editing pass. Meanwhile, I'm adding some pages. We did this last month as well. I was like, here is the zine, and he's like, this. There's pages here that are half empty, and I'm like, I'm adding more stuff, and just because I love writing this stuff, so I keep adding more up until the last minute. And I assume that's going to continue now. If I have it in me, I'm almost done with the third chapter. So it's the new zine is going to be 3 chapters. There's a haunted house dungeon crawl that I talked a little bit about last time, the playtest we did on that. And that uses dungeon turns. Then 2 is going to be an introduction to the interchange, which is one of the sort of wealthier inner city districts or boroughs. And 3 is going to be a guide to Blackguard as a whole, with a little bit of like how moving around the city works, and talking about each of the individual boroughs just in a couple of paragraphs. So if you end up running Blackguard before the whole run is over, you at least have some guidance on what is in each district. I haven't gotten further. The thing I really want to add, if I get the time for it, I think I'm running out of time, because I've gotten half of a procedural tool system in place where you can like generate new shops or towns or residents. What else do I want to put in there? What do I have? Hang on, let me look at my notes real quick. Generate pamphlets or rumors or street names, just sort of things that if some player goes, what's the name of the street we're on right now, you can roll on a table and give him an answer. But I haven't finished that yet, and I was hoping to put it out on Thursday, but we might delay it by a couple of days, since Thursday isn't the scene promotional video. So it will still be coming out by the end of the month, but it might be Saturday, Sunday. We'll have to wait and see. What software do we use for the zine? We use InDesign. I can show you a little bit of InDesign. Hang on. What can I show you? This is all the things that I want to show you. They're all they haven't been proofwritten yet or edited, and whenever Magnus goes through, he does a wonderful job making it seem like my writing makes any sense. But they kind of look like this. This is InDesign. This is how we lay them out. We put a little sort of master page. We put them at the top. They go here, and that sort of layout goes on every page. And then we can go to other pages and fill text in as we go. I'll write a little paragraph, and this is how we format it to sort of look not exactly like D&D modules or anything like that, but, you know, close enough that you look at this and you understand that it's a D&D module, and it looks nice. It's got 2 columns, and we can do all kinds of stuff. We can put in little boxes, or put art on the page, or put these little explainer boxes. And then I'm often sort of futzing around with the location of all these things. Put the maps in. The funny thing about InDesign is whenever you put images, they just come out blurry like this. So I often end up exporting the zine like dozens of times while writing to make sure everything's fine. But here's a little sneak peek. This is the Compass Rose, which we made in a recent live stream. And here I am sort of explaining it a little bit. I'm not going to zoom in too much because the text hasn't been proofwritten, and I'm writing this all with sick brain. So I assume that whenever I hand this over to Magnus, he's actually going to make sure that Daði's sick brain typos aren't making it into the product. And then, yeah, then I want to do a dungeon turn video. I want to talk about, I might do like a dungeon turn PDF, like we did with the Hexploration one. Just a handful of pages sort of going when to use them, what situations to use them in, and how to mess around with that stuff. Zine looks similarly to Homebrewery. Oh, Zine isn't the project. The project is just InDesign, which is a page layout, like a professional page layout thing. But yeah, you could sort of put whatever in here, and you can format. I can be like, hey, this is all quote text, and then it, you know, adjusts it. Or if I go, hang on, let me, you know, I can go, oh, here's a picture. I'm going to put the picture here. I can move it, but I can also put text wrap on it. And then when I move it, it sort of adjusts to the text. And it allows me to work fairly quickly. And sometimes writing in here is actually kind of fun because I know that I don't want spillover text. I really hate spillover text in published modules and stuff like that. So when you're flipping through, I want the map of the dungeon to always be visible because if I'm flipping back and forth all the time, I end up kind of lost in the sauce. So I try and make sure everything fits on a page, fits on a spread, which means sometimes I know how much I have to write. Like, we do a lot of this in outlining, like in Obsidian, and just bullet points, or we write down entire blurbs there. But then once we get it into InDesign, it turns out we have to trim the text, we have to extend the text so that it all looks nice on the page, which is often just a bit relaxing to know that that it's easy to write in this software. So I can often just write straight into it. Hey, that's amazing, Afro Thunder. Yeah, the Five Room Dungeon video is it's the production is some of my least favorite, but the content I think is pretty good. The John Four's original Five Room Dungeons, I swear by them. I use them all the time. Yeah, and then I want to do a city crawl video, and I think I'm gonna go film a bunch of that stuff just in downtown Reykjavik, because I think, as somebody who lives in a city, I realized the other day I don't think of the city as a map. I think of it in terms of what district I'm in, or what borough I'm in, or neighborhood, or whatever word you want to use. So I want to make a guide on like how to get that feel when you're running a city, because a lot of the times you're moving from borough to borough or district to district, and you're thinking, how do I get from one to the next? And then the zoom levels are different. So when I go downtown, there's interesting stuff everywhere. Whereas when I go in my neighborhood where I live, out sort of a bit further away, more in the suburbs, there really isn't much here unless I go to the strip mall. And that means that if you were to make a module of that for D&D, you wouldn't need a detailed gazetteer of a suburb, but you would need one for downtown, right? So I really want to figure out a way to explain that well in a video, not when I'm sick. But the idea being that you can get different zoom levels. So one thing I'm doing in the zine I can show you right now. This here is a map of the city as a whole. But if I jump on over here, this is a map of one borough, the interchange, which is separated into neighborhoods. And this isn't legible at all, but this here says Mont Circle. You can't read it right now because InDesign compresses the crap out of everything. But then I wanted to go, okay, what is Mont Circle? And then I put in a more detailed map saying, so if you go to M for Mont Circle, as you're looking up stuff on the map, you find, hey, there's more detail here. There's a bunch of pubs. Now, will you be using all these pubs in your adventure? I don't know. But, if you want a bunch of flavor and a bunch of pubs, here they are. And that way you could sort of get zoom levels in. So like here, for instance, this says Banner Ventures headquarters. But if you go here, you can go Banner Ventures HQ, and you can see there's a more detailed map of it with more labels, and then you can sort of figure out the zoom levels a bit more, because a lot of the time you sort of you want more. You don't want more detail indiscriminately. What you want is detail on the stuff you're going to need, the stuff you're going to use. So I think the thing that I'm trying to figure out is like, can I make it so that I just give you the good detail and not the useless detail? And then I wrote a whole page on pubs. We'll see if any of it works. Where do you get Zine? One-time purchase or so? The software is InDesign. Design. It's an Adobe product. If you're asking where you can get the broadsheet is available now on the Mystic Arts Patreon. Haha. Yeah, exactly. Fractalized design. It'll let you ensure you design only what you actually need. 100% correct. You could get a product where every single house is, detailed room by room. And it would be a massive product that you would feel really good when you grabbed it in the game store and you flip through it and you go, wow. And then what happens is you've got 2 hours until the next session starts, and you remember that you had that massive product, and you open it and you go, yeah, and then you close the thing, and then you put it back and you don't use it. So what I really want to do is I want to make sure that we sort of zoom in on things we need, zoom out if we don't need it, and then we can just sort of put aside like detail for detail's sake. And then, stuff like in the broadsheet, the zine I'm talking about right now, which is available on the wait, oh no, crap, I'm sick. On the Mystic Arts Patreon. That whole thing is like, okay, so here is a house that's marked on the map. That house is a dungeon, and you can go run that dungeon. But you don't need that for everything. And then if you're a DM running this, what you might, in my ideal world, you might then go and see, hey, Daði didn't really put that much detail on the Museum of the Arts. I really want to run an art heist, and I'm going to use this city, and I'm using it for this or that. So I'm going to actually take the Museum of the Arts bit and expand it into an adventure. And that way you can, as a DM, you can sort of play with it. Yeah. Have I said all the things I was going to say? Oh, we're also working on more PDFs. I'm really happy with the stuff we're doing with the zine, and they're long. Like this one's probably gonna end up being 50 pages again. But I really miss also just doing sort of quick plug and play guides. So the next thing I'm working on is the dungeon turns. I'm probably gonna try and turn that into a couple of sheet little lookup guide, and it's not gonna be terribly complicated. But I also want to take the mystic monsters that we've done, the goblins, the kobolds, the hobgoblins, vampires, stuff like that, and I want to take them all into a PDF and put the stat blocks in there. Take the old adventures, put them into a PDF, update the Book of the Profane Word and stuff like that, and put it all on the Patreon. Just because I think if you're a member, you should be able to get those updated in the new look. Hang on, I'm gonna have a little sip. I'm mute myself. We'll see how much we get done tonight. I have no understanding of my state of mind. I've been struggling writing all day. I've managed about 4 pages of the magazine, the broadsheet. So if we actually get to being useful, then then this will be a great stream, because that means it's the first time I've been properly useful today. Have I done a video on social intrigue? I haven't. I think, if not late December, then early January, I want to do a D&D has X types of social encounters video. Which would be, which would just talk about, like, what kinds of social intrigue and encounters are there. And some of them aren't, encounters. Some of them are just, we're talking. What are we talking about? And then there's, negotiations, or trying to get information, or, interrogation, lore. How do you make a lore dump interesting? I think that'll be fun. We are here to help. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, there's loads of folk coming in. Hi, everybody. How you doing? On the zine being turned into an app? I don't know. No, I don't know how that would work. I would want at some point to do our domain system, and that might require an app. One of the Patreon members on the Discord, Norm, was gonna have a look at that. He'd sort of started a little bit, but it's a huge undertaking, so I'm not surprised that he hasn't I don't mean to call him out, but hasn't done more than just a sort of basic setup. But because I think that whole thing needs like a web app if you're going to run it, or we need to simplify it if I ever want to make it into something that other people can use, not just me. Because I was looking at the new Heroes of Faerun thing, and they've got circle casting in there, and if you're on any of the D&D subreddits, people have developed opinions on that. And the as they should, because they could sort of be used in combat and whenever. And I think that's kind of the wrong approach. The thing I would want to see is a different layer of the game that sort of happens on top of the normal layer we play, which would be playing with domains, armies, and war magic, and these all being their own layer, but ideally a story engine. Because I read the Kingdoms of Warfare Strongholds and Followers from MCDM, and I always liked the pitch more than I liked the finished product, and that's because a lot of times the finished product is meant to be put on any adventure, which makes it more usable, makes it so that more people can use it. I completely get that. I think that is the right choice, ultimately, if you're selling like a book. But what I would want to see is something that's on top, and it almost becomes sort of a layer of more complicated, like a story engine. Like the way I run my domain system, it's a reason why they go adventuring. For instance, they thought there might be silver in the hills, because I sort of hinted at it to the players. And then they went there, and now they're doing a dungeon crawl of an ancient alchemical lab. And I'm not going to say too much about it, because I saw Salka's in chat. Hi, Salka. She's one of my players. She can't know any spoilers. But it's an alchemical laboratory, and there's talk of the Philosopher's Stone and stuff like that in there. But the reason they went there is because they're hoping to find silver, because then they can build a silver mine, and then they can construct silver mines and have silver and not have an incredible debt problem in the county. And that way the domain system isn't layering on top of a regular adventure. It is the reason the players go on adventures. And when the players get money, they go, thank God we can spend it on this or that in the adventure, which I think is just far more valuable as a sort of story engine you could play with. I don't know how I would do that, but I would ideally, I want War Magic to be a part of that system, domains and then armies. Maybe if we get to a point where we can get Magnus on full time as well, then we'd be able to sit down and just spend some time talking about it and see what that would look like. Forge of Fury, I did like Forge of Fury. Yeah. Do I have any tips or heads up for how to run it? Be careful. If your players are terribly new, they might not realize, because Forge of Fury and everything else in Tales from the Yawning Portal is a throwback to an older style of D&D, where it was far more common in other styles of play that player characters would just die. And I personally love that style. I'm perfectly happy putting player characters into mortal danger. I'll tell you a little story. Let's put a pin in that, because I want to tell you a story about it. I'm perfectly happy putting players into mortal danger. But if you're playing the sort of heroic, save the world superhero game that 5e often becomes, Forge of Fury's got to feel very different, because the dungeon is designed to kind of trap you if you play it wrong. For instance, there is a section, spoilers for Forge of Fury, plug your ears. I'll go like this when I'm done. Plug your ears. There's a bit in Forge of Fury where you walk into a room, there's two bridges across a river, and on the other side there are some Duergar. And the closest point to the Duergar from the door is by jumping over the river. And if you fail that check, you fall into the river, downstream, down the waterfall, and perish immediately from 10d10 bludgeoning damage. And then, if you survive that, you are in a tunnel, and every round you get an exhaustion, level of exhaustion, and then you die at the end of that. Like, there's no getting out of it. And I think that's really cool. I think it's a lot of fun playing D&D like that. I loved playing Tomb of Horrors for that one time we did. But if your players are new to that, they might not realize, and if these are their babies they're taking in there, or these are new players that you don't know how that's going to work on them, it's a coin flip. But if they're down for it, then do it. So on a session the other day, I can't tell too much because I don't want to spoil anything for Salka in chat, but there's an item that one of the players has called the Skull of the Paladin. And it has an ability where anything in a 120-foot aura takes 2 damage. And he used it. He killed some drow. He dealt damage to all the monsters on the field. And it's the first time he used it at the sort of once the group got together. He'd used it a few times in the solo sessions we did leading up to the main adventure, and it's also that skull is also in the zine. In the zine, it does two necrotic damage, but at my table it reduces all targets' hit points by 2, regardless of what damage it is. And nearby the players had collected a strange rock of arcane nature they didn't know much about called bloodstone. And I asked them all, how much do you have on you? And sort of went around the table, people going, none, 5. And I'm like, okay, 5, that's a lot. I mean, 8, okay, good God. And then I turned to the wizard and he goes, 19. And I rolled a die for each of those players, depending on how many dice they had collected together. I asked them where they collect their bloodstone, and all of them said, we have them all together in a bag, on my side or on my back or whatever. And so I was like, okay, that's a bunch of them collected together. I rolled a D percentile, and Salka, if you don't want spoilers, I'll give you hang on, I forgot to do thumbs up. If you don't want spoilers, Salka, then maybe plug your ears until I do thumbs up again. But I rolled a D percentile for how many, the DC was the double the amount of stones collected together. So for the guy with 2, I said 5. For 2, it was 4. So very unlikely to mean anything. And then for the one with 8, I rolled and it was DC 16. For the guy with 19, that's DC. I'm bad at math right now. I'm always bad at math, but now I'm especially bad. DC is 38 on a D100, which happened. And then I rolled a series of dice for how many of them cracked with the same DC. So roll D100 per 19 dice. Roll. 6 of them crack, and each of the ones that crack, they dealt 2d6 necrotic damage. He's a wizard at level 4. He watched as the satchel shot out, one of them broke in front of his face, and these others cracked out from it, and then a fireball aura-size necrotic damage explosion happened. And nobody else was in it. There were 2 characters that might have been, but they were behind total cover. So the explosion happens. He takes 44 necrotic damage, which is a high roll on those dice. And that reduces him to massive damage death. So he just exploded and died. And one of the gems then breaks and summons a Barlgura on the battlefield in the middle of the fight against the drow and the spiders they were fighting. This Barlgura comes alive, and suddenly now there's a front where the drow is, and she's dealing with the front line, and all the wizards have to now rally around the Barlgura and fight it. Because there's now a Barlgura on the field. Dude's dead. Now, luckily, Maeve the Ranger was wearing a robe of useful items she had gotten a couple of sessions earlier, and on it there was a scroll of spell of your choice, 3rd level or lower. So they pull out the scroll. She pulls out the scroll of Revivify because she can decide. She rolled randomly for the robe on a random table of magic items, and then rolled randomly for what was on it, and 2 of them were these scrolls. One had already been used to save her life a little earlier. She pulls out the scroll, she hands it over to Barton, who's playing the summoner. He's the only other person with proficiency in Arcana, because the wizard just blew up. Barton takes the scroll, reads it, rolls a natural 1, spends a luck point, rolls a 19 on the die, and the scroll gets cast. Salka, you can put your headphones on. The scroll gets cast, it disintegrates, and they watch as Alton the wizard comes alive, his eyes shoot open, and they see his head, which was on the ground, but the back of his skull had cracked. They see it lift up as it gets healed, and then he's alive. They had the torso. He wasn't blown to bits. It was a necrotic explosion, so I didn't think any parts of his body should have been destroyed. But he made it, and now everyone's going, I don't know if we should be messing around with this bloodstone stuff anymore. Anyway, that's enough of me blabbing. I think that now we should move over and start talking about the town that we're gonna make, Dillhorn. But before we do that, I have to transmogrify and stop being Daði from Mystic Arts and become Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Subscribe to D&D rules.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Welcome back to Smash.
Clearly agile,
Sneaky,
sneaky, intelligent, powerful. I'm on the bed already.
T-minus 5 seconds. Daði the Dungeon Guy.
I have opened up Inkarnate, and over here we've got the watercolor cities selection. Is what we're going to be starting with, and later on we'll sort of hop over to Obsidian, and I assume by the second half of the stream we'll be hopping between the two softwares. We're going to do choose style, and I've already called it Dillhorn, set the quality to ultra, because last time I did that, I completely blew out my PC. We'll see if Inkarnate behaves this time around. I might just put it to 2K. Yeah, let's put it to 2K and save ourselves the headache. But I'm going to do it in portrait mode, which is 30 by 40 tiles, because this is going to go on a PDF at the end of this. So I think that aspect ratio is going to work better for us. Click Create Map, and it's going to start loading a map for us. And I'm going to have another sip here. And what happens is Inkarnate generates this blank blue map. We're going to grab our mask tool. They call it that because you're masking between the foreground and the background. Put the brush to be massive, and we're just going to fill this in, because I don't think there is any water or any river. We can actually go check. Looking at the world map, this is a map of Atraxia. If you want this full map, it's available as a part of the zine, available now on Patreon. And you can see here, this is the continent. And there is no river that runs to Dillhorn. Dillhorn is a new town. It wasn't here until very, very recently. So it was built to sustain this railroad, I think like 50 years ago. And I keep blowing out the mic. I have to move it further away. Like 50 years ago, I think it was built. So we know there's a town here. We know it's in the middle of the forest. We know there's a road and a railroad going through. You can tell by the dotted line and the dashed line, road and rail. And this here is the Ashwood Forest. And we are going to hop back over here. I don't know if that should have worked fine. Let's have a look. Yes. Hop back over here. And this looks like it's roughly letter size. Yeah, Trek's here. Trek, yeah, I can export in HD later. I'll probably just do that. There's an underground water source, I guess? Probably. A well is probably what we're going to do. We made it all green. Now, the first thing I like to do is put in hills, but I'm not going to do it this time. I am going to put in hills in a bit, but it's not going to be the first thing I do, because I need to make sure the train tracks look nice. I could put in a hill and then sort of make it be my problem that the train tracks are here, but because I'm not building this town in real life, I am going to allow myself to grab the pen tool here, grab this stairs asset, because that's the best, it's the closest to railroad tracks I can get, and then I'm just going to do a sort of swerving line that goes through here, and then we put down some railway tracks, and I think I'm going to make them not have shadows. There is an option for that. Shadow, no. Yeah, I think that's better. I want to have shadows on everything else. I think they normally look nice. You're welcome, Jonathan Frost. Hang on, JFRO. We're gonna have to get started. You keep posting ideas, and I've forgotten all of them. I apologize. You got sick brain Daði here, so we'll have to take good care of him. So I think we're gonna get the railway tracks in here. Something. We're just gonna mess around with them. I did a little squiggly line. We're gonna see what line we like the most. Probably something like that. And I'm going to get a second bit of line. We're going to sort of merge it out of this one. And then have it run side by side. And then merge it back in. And that's going to be the... Can I make it underneath? Yeah. Like that. Well, no, like this. Does that look better or worse? It might look worse. Let's do it like this then. So now we got these little road coming through. And we also know there's a road in town, but I'm gonna hold off on the road for a second because I like to put in hills first. And you can grab here, you can go to the asset thing. They've also sorted this for you in new ways, so you can get Camp 2.0. Somebody was asking what I think about Inkarnate 2.0. I don't know what Inkarnate 2.0 is, but I know that there's now a bunch of 2.0 options wherever I go, which is neat. Loading art. I'm closing this. You can sort by sections, or what I tend to do is I just go to pack, because that's how I'm used to looking at it. But if you go by tag, it's probably better sorted, if I'm honest. This is Inkarnate, T-Dog. Big cliffs that force parts of the track to be suspended. That might be good. That might be good. So you can grab here, you can go cliffs, and you can grab little bits like this, or you can go composite, they're called, and they're these really big squiggles, and they're great. You can go in dark, wide, grassy, dirt hill composite. You can grab them in all kinds of shades and sizes. You can also go here into the pen tool and grab, cliff and draw them in. And then you get these looking things. I tend to think the composites usually look a little bit better. But if you want to create like a ravine, like Trek was suggesting, then we can sort of go like that. And I can flip them. No, flip them the other way. So now they both sort of go into this chunk here. And we're going to move the tracks over it. I'm doing control arrow up, control arrow down, and then I can just shuffle these layers. You can see the number. Hang on. Can't see it on this. What if I scooch? You can see all the way over here. You can see these layer indicators. But I'm going to put it back. Maybe it has charcoal burners and a refuel station. It probably has some kind of stuff at the train station, but I know it's not the main track. I know that Hatchmere has the big train station, like a terminal, and there's also a terminal in Blackguard. So this one is probably fairly modest comparatively. But what you can do is you can also combine. You can grab this stuff with a pen tool, and then you can go and grab the hills here and place them on top. Oh, actually, I want these to have shadows. Shadow. I think that looks better. And these can sort of come on here and just make things look a little bit better. Just to get a little bit more sort of asset variation in. If you've ever done like level design in Unreal, this may not be relatable to anybody, I apologize, but sometimes all you got to do is just vary your assets a little bit, and you end up getting a better look overall from it. You know what I mean? You see what I'm talking about? Just sort of messes it up a little bit. Now, when we were doing the Inkarnate map, the stamp size, we had it at like 25%. We're just going full 100% because I don't think Dilhorn's a big town. I think it's very small. And I can tell because it uses the smallest icon I have, because the Quedgley is a slightly bigger one. No. Hang on. Yes? Now I feel like I'm going insane. No, Alderley up here is slightly bigger. Quedgley, and Inkbarrow is slightly bigger, but Quedgley is fairly small. And you can see these other kinds of assets. They all mean things to me. I think I put a key in one of the zine issues, but here we are. We can also grab these cliffs here and we can move them. Ooh. them around a little bit. And let's put them all on layer 5. Is the town station on the bypass there? Yeah, we're going to put a station presumably here, and then most of the town is on this side, and we're going to have a little bit of the town on this side. Probably the logging and stuff like that would go on this side here. And I'm also going to be assuming that if I'm putting this on a piece of paper, a letter size page, that bits of it are going to get cut off. So I'm going to try and remember that the sort of center of the pages are action safe. If you ever work in film or editing, an action safe is the part of the shot you know that's always in frame. And this shot right now is a good example of it. This is our action safe. I'm always in this part of the shot, but the shot is wider, right? It's got a whole bunch of other stuff in it. But here we got too much headspace above my noggin, right? That's the space between the head and the top of the frame. If I sit properly, it's not that bad. But when I'm streaming, I tend to slouch. So here we are. Wow. Look at that. So we got this, and let's get some more hills in here. Now, the cliffs are great and all, but I also want the town to exist on a bit of a hill. Just because that means that we'll be forced to make certain choices. Have you ever played City Skylines or games like that? You're highly aware of how much the terrain influences where you build your houses. And we want to tap into that part of our brain that is aware of those things, because that sort of shapes how we're going to be looking at our town. So we're going to just chop some hills down. We don't want to be too obvious with it. Some of the corners, but not all. We can also go in here, and there's like a circular hill composite, this fella. And we can put a little tower somewhere, you know, a little hill and a little tower. We can also grab a big hill composite and build it, you know, something like here. And suddenly now I'm looking at this and I'm going, oh, I think I remember where I want all the things to be. I think I remember, you know, now I'm looking at this, not remembering, but I'm like, I can tell the map is starting to do some of the work for me. Do you understand? So we're going to grab these, we're going to put them all on layer 5, because there is no instance, layer 5, layer 4, something like that, because there's no instance where a house is going to be underneath a hill or a tree is going to be underneath a hill. So we're going to take all our background assets here, we're going to put them all the way down, and if I remove my face for a second, and I shift the stream window a little bit, you can see I can just grab these things, and I can group them, right-click, create group, terrain. Now, technically, the railroad isn't a part of the terrain, but that's all fine. Create, and now we got a little group here, and it's all layer 5. That just means we won't have to worry about those things later on. Make sense? Yeah, it's going to be important to have the bypass at the station so the trains can pass each other. That's 100% correct. How do I handle rations? They got to track the rations. It's not just about the money Marquis plays, it's also about carrying capacity. Now, if you don't use carrying capacity, then there's probably no reason to worry about rations. But I run a game where people go out into the wilderness and do that kind of stuff, so it's important. Iron, coal, or wood, any of those make good small town industries. I don't think they have iron or coal, but they definitely have wood. Now, we might want to put something underneath the rails here. We'll worry about that in a second. I might actually just want to grab the stair asset and pull it out of the group. Put it into the scene, and put that into its own group. Railway tracks, right? Now let's go plop down our train station. I don't think anything is going to be complete here until we have something of a train station. Now, I can just grab any asset. The farmhouses are really good for sort of key assets. I tend to think of Inkarnate assets as coming in either sort of stuff, which is, you know, trees, houses, stuff like that, and then key assets, which is, you know, unique looking blocks that I know that when I make the map, I'm going to label those, right? So we got that. I'm going to put this train station. Now, I'm probably going to use this one. I just like it the most for all of this. And we could make it blue. I'll be like over here. And I'll grab a little, there is a dock made out of wood that I love using whenever I get a chance. Because it's just, if you use it in all kinds of situations here, wooden docks, and suddenly it becomes a railway platform. You know what I mean? So we're going to put it underneath. We're going to put this farmhouse on layer 0, and we're going to put this here. And now we got a little bit of a platform. We can put 2 of them. Look at that. Now they might need to cross these things in certain circumstances. I don't know. I might just have there be a road that goes here, and I don't think they have those modern, things that come down. Disneyland weenies. Yeah, exactly. Trek. The you look at the map and you go, this house is blue and big. That must be important. Now I think this town is largely built around the train station. So I assume that the town square has to be just outside it, and that's probably where we're going to put our well. This is a fountain asset, but the well asset is so small that most of the time you wouldn't really know what you're looking at. So I'd like a big fountain just to indicate to the viewer the utility of the item. Like the maps need to be obviously visible when you're looking at the map. Now we put a little inn. Put a little inn across here. Maybe put it directly across the train station. So immediately we have a little town square, right? Town square right here in the bottom of these bottom of this valley thing with some hills on it. We'll put it like that. Now maybe we make this be a different color. I don't know. We can pick a yellow house. Now I think yellow is probably the color I'm going to use for the sort of generic chaff stuff houses. So red and blue, I think it's going to steal the attention pretty successfully. Water tower at the train station, that's not bad. Bearcat 18, that is the namer of Dungeon Mayhem. We should probably do Dungeon Mayhem again next May. That'd be fun. I don't know if I have 3 videos about dungeons to make. I probably will by May, let's be real. I don't know if there is a good water tower asset, though, Bearcat. I don't know. We got a pavilion. We got this pillar, but it's very small. Yeah, I'm not sure. We could put just a tower, like a little tower like that. Bonk. That's good. Let's do it. I'm also going to go to my custom assets where I have a train. Oh, very big train. My train is also probably too big, first of all, but it's also presumably too straight. Plop it on. It would look a lot nicer if it bent with the stuff, so I might not. One side of the tracks tends to be more active than the others. Yeah, I think we're going to put most of our town here. Now, I think this town only has a population of a few hundred, so this shouldn't take terribly long. Now let's have a little look at what we wrote down. Spoilers. What we wrote down in the this document about Dilhorn. We want a kooky village elder. We wanted Gibby, a shopkeeper. Gibby, the character from iCarly. We want Korash Stormcrusher, a tavern owner. We got a tavern. A human town butcher named Meat. And we got 3 orphan pranksters. There's a hunting guild. There's a couple of big corporations. Okay, now we should be able to do all that. I'm going to move this on over to my second screen here. Oh, that's not good, because then I can't see you lovely people. Is there an office of the logging company on the town square too? I think they are sort of off here. I'm gonna get rid of this train. I think we should put down our logging company, because I know there's a couple of good sort of logging assets in here. We're gonna go grab that. Where are they? Where are they, those assets? AB introduced me to this song out of Hades. I think it's Hades 2, called The Doomed City. It's when you fight, there's like a Cyclops. The one from mythology. Don't remember the name. Anyway, Doomed City. It's a blast. It gets my brain going. I know it doesn't look like my brain is going, but you should have seen me in that store I was in earlier. So let's just put this here. It's sort of grayish. Let's get the blue version of it. Let's put it like that way. And then we're going to put a few houses around. Now there's also these, which I do like. So we're going to... Let's get them in line with the train station. Sort of here, or with the train tracks, I mean. Like that way. These are like carpentry shops or something like that. And then we're going to get a few house assets just sort of sporadically scattered around here. Polyphemus, yes. Good job, everybody, yeah. Forest, yeah, we're going to get the forest in here. I tend to do the forest last, just once I know sort of what I want my assets to be doing. But we're going to get these town bits, these houses in here. Just like that. And I think this part of town is basically like a company town. This is a thing, a real thing in the real world, where corporations would build up towns because they needed workers. They were like, okay, we need this wood, so we need to build a bunch of businesses to go extract the wood, but also we need people to work those businesses. So what they did is they built all the houses, and then people would show up and they'd go work at the thing, but then the company was like, well, we also need to feed them. So we're going to build a food company that makes all the food, and then we're going to sell them to the people that work for us. And we're going to make a profit off of selling them the food. We're going to make a profit off of them buying the houses or renting the houses. And turns out, once you got people there renting the houses and buying your food, you're basically getting all of your money back. So, yeah, company currency. They did that too. So they'd give you, monopoly money. You can only use it the company. You can use it, to buy bread from the company town. You can use it to buy your rent, buy your water. All things the company owned. And I think that's what Standard Pulp is doing here. I also think it's shady as fuck. But here we are. And I say, companies used to do this. They still do. There are still plenty of places in the real world, maybe even in your country, where companies, to a lesser extent than they used to be able to, but to the full extent that they can according to the law, do just that. And here in Atroxia, they don't have that much regulation around these things. And companies like that. That makes them happy. They're gonna have a little. They're gonna have a little well here as well. Well. We're gonna put a few more houses on the opposite side. Now I'm putting a gap here because I know I'm gonna put a road just there. That's usually how I tend to do roads in Inkarnate. They're just the holes between my assets. Blimey. There we go. Just a little cul-de-sac there. Right? And we'll get some trees in here. We'll get some dirt into this ditch. We're going to get some pillars to hold up the ditch. What is this? Does this work as a pillar? I think it might. I think it'd be cooler if it looked like wood, but... like this asset. Like that. And then we put it underneath. I don't know, that doesn't look so bad. Almost looks like I know what I'm doing. Huh. Look at that. Yeah, we only take monopoly money. Yeah. 100%. Atraxia uses paper currency. Oh, I should show you the paper currency I have. No, let's not get distracted. Ask me about the paper currency on a different stream. I'll bring some here and I'll have it next to me. I feel like the scale of the new company town is too big. He boot too big. No, I think it's probably going to be fine once we get some of the other stuff in here. But there's paper currency, so the company could mint their own currency. I don't think there's a law saying you can't trade with not money. Yeah, Sagittarian, exactly. Messed up. That sounds like serfdom to me. What else is in this town? Hang on. When I alt-tab, you can see all the nonsense I have open. I should probably have less nonsense open, but here we are. Ariston Rail Company. Bad. Yeah. We should probably get in a couple of extra buildings for the rail company. Because I think... Hang on. I'm doing all of this at 70%. Had to have been, because I had the scale all wonky. Oh! Okay, well, we're gonna work with that. So hang on, let's have a look here. I see. I see how it is. Yeah. Okay. Let's just, let's kill it. Let's kill it. Whoever said the scale is too big, you were correct. But maybe not in the way you thought you were. Because I think we're using 100% brush scale, and now it's going to look massive if I don't change the scale, which I'm gonna. Oh my god. Yeah. Alright, give me a second. We're gonna work this out, everybody. We're gonna work this out. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes it feels like it's the end of the world. But you have to remember, people feel that way all the time. Throughout all of history. Go back to any time in history, and you will discover people thought it was the end of the world. Here we go. Alright. There we go. That looks a bit better to me. Yeah, DM hostile intent. Always DM with hostile intent. Okay, maybe not, but yeah. Anyway, here it is. Polyphemus is gonna get wrecked. Alright, so let's add some red towns, red houses. Now, what I can often do is I sort of get these city block looking things, and I make them be the center of town, just to make the center of town feel more center of town-esque. And a lot of the times, that works just fine. So I'm going to grab a little bit like that. So you walk up, you know, and now we suddenly have a street looking thing. Now this isn't going to last forever. We're just going to go like that. We're going to plop them a little down here, and then we're going to break it. You can get these big city blocks, but I think it's too much for us. I think we're just going to grab this one. We're going to rotate it around a little bit. And suddenly it's going to start feeling like, hey, yeah, that town's over here. We're going to grab these even smaller houses. We're going to nestle them around. Look at that. Ain't that gorgeous? Now, we could probably put some rich houses on this hill. Here we are. Plop these things down. We're gonna need more interesting things in this town as well. I think we got plenty of sort of boring old houses around right now. Here, let me go lock the terrain and rail track layers so I don't accidentally select anything on them. Now, what did our note say? Our note said... Standard pulp, rail company. Yes, that's what I was doing. This is the kind of thing that happens when I'm sick. I just sort of forget. I was doing 4 things at once earlier, and then the fridge started beeping, and I looked over, and I had to think, when did I open the fridge? And then I was like, oh yes, I did open the fridge. I was getting a Christmas soda. If you don't know about Icelandic Christmas soda, I apologize, but that means my life is better. It's the best thing. It's orange soda and malt extract mixed together. But you can't do it like Fanta. Like, that's a crime. That's wrong. But if you ever come to Iceland around the holidays, be aware of 2 things. One, there is no sun. It's just gone. We get a handful of hours of sunlight right now. It rises about, 10 a.m. and leaves at 3. And it's getting shorter. But on the plus side, we get Christmas soda. So... now, I need... Yes, rail company houses. God, thanks for distracting me, everybody. Swear to God. Let's just get a few of them. We don't need that many. This one's like a little wedge. We're not going to use the wedge. God, the noises in these houses. Well, alright. Let's get one more big one in. Here. Look at that. So we got a little rail company enclave. We got a little standard pulp enclave. Christmas soda. Yeah. God. Alright, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm now going to go get Christmas soda. You're all going to have to wait here while I go get some Christmas soda. I'll be right back. Hello. I've returned. This is it. It's called... Hang on. There it is. Don't look at my face. Look at the can. There it is. It's called Egil's Jólaöl Appelsín. They do not sponsor me. But feel free to get in touch, guys. These are lovely. And they taste Like Christmas, I don't know. They're very drinkable. They're very like easy to have way too much of. Inkarnate is free. It's a free software. The asterisk, uh, all this stuff is a part of the pro package. So the stuff that is actually free is the core set, which are these things. So you can't do that much with the free package. But it's not terribly expensive. Like I've been subscribed for I don't know how long. It's fairly it's reasonable rates, I'd say. Somebody said that we should get some fancy houses for the company owners while I was away, and I think that's a good idea. I think we're probably going to put them on this hill. Now I'm going to burp because of the Christmas soda. I apologize to everybody, just in general. We could also put them up on this hill. Actually, that's cool. So we can put these guys' houses here, and these guys' houses here. Good God. God, I shouldn't drink that stuff. I have a tiny little stomach, and when I have soda, it hates me. And then it makes me sleepy. So, think of how good the soda must be. Is it true Icelandic people love licorice? Yes. But that's mostly because licorice here is better than it is in the rest of the so-called free world. The snark comes from people hating licorice. I try to have licorice anytime I have candy, I'll be honest. I love it. Especially like spicy, like hard licorice. Mm. So there was also a hunting guild, right? Hunting guild. Osmond and Paulina. Poil. Her. We're gonna put a little house. By a little, I mean big. Like this one. This is called Merchants Guild. Oh, that's very big. Maybe we'll put it up on this hill here. Is that with in our action safe? Ugh. Mostly. But I'll put trees all around it and just stairs leading up to it, and I think that'll be it. I don't think we need more than that. So we can grab these sort of natural looking stair things. We can put some like that. Or I can grab some slightly wider ones and just sort of, so it goes up the hill. Look at that. Ain't that lovely? Happy little stairs. Put a few more houses here. Corpo houses. Just clump them up together. And then this route goes up there, and then presumably the road continues upwards. So I think now I just want to do the road. A lot of the times when I'm mapping, I don't have like a system I go through. I try and just follow wherever is inspiring me. And that may not sound useful as a bit of advice, but it truly is how I think about this stuff. Because if you're sort of trying to set yourself an agenda, I think a lot of the time you end up just failing to meet it because you feel like you have to do certain things. Maybe I shouldn't put this yet, he said after that whole thing about agendas. I think it sort of goes like that, I think that's the road into and out of town. Background music, not on purpose. I'm not allowed to play music belonging to Darren Cobb. Feel free to play your own background music. Be your own DJ. Welcome to Mystic Arts, where watching the stream means you have to do some work as well. There we go. Something of a railway worker section of town. Now, I often like the different roofs. I used to be really turned off by how bright they were, but I think a big part of doing a map, any map, is the fact that it has to be usable. Otherwise, you've just sort of made a painting. And you have to make sure that you're sort of making it useful. Like if you're doing a battle map and it looks gorgeous, but you don't know what squares are what, or where the difficult terrain is, or what furniture is where, it ends up just being annoying. So you have to make sure that you're making it usable every step of the way. Can I stand in this square if you're doing a battle map? Or if you're doing a town, where are the districts? Well, we've colored them in. You know what I mean? And we can also go here and check this out. We can go... And I moved everything a little bit just then. And we've decided this is blue. We could decide this is some other color. Now that I've grabbed it, I can grab the hue slider here, and I can slide it over to whatever hue I want. We can make it be green. Now, that does mean the white parts sort of become some other color. We can also desaturate them. And it usually does the job for me. And then they aren't as incredibly brightly colored, right? We can desaturate these houses a bit, and we can shift the color slightly further away. And we can do the same with the main sort of town square buildings. And then it's less sort of neon. And there they are. Now what else is in town? Wasn't there a blacksmith? Tavern, butcher, frogman. No blacksmith. Grimace. We can put a blacksmith in. Shouldn't we put a blacksmith? What do you folks think? Blacksmith here, Renee? I'll start placing some more houses while I'm waiting on you people. We can also use the sort of curved brushes to tuck homes into the hillside. You know, we can go like that. Nerd. You know what I mean? Just sort of nerd. You can also get the small clusters. Make sure that we desaturate them so they match the rest. And go, you know, something like that. Nerd. Isn't there also just rows? Yes. Yes. And this way we end up with sort of different shapes around the town, right? We end up with this bit around the town square, which is way more orderly. And then we go further away, they sort of break into more sort of loose structures. And then we got these kind of ones that bend around the hills. You need nail and horseshoes. Yeah, good point, Trebor. All right. Everybody says blacksmith. That makes sense. Every town needs a blacksmith, even if they don't have weapons. I think it's probably true. I think for what we were doing in Kingmaker in my main campaign, we had there be a blacksmith, but he had recently died, and the current blacksmith was a whitesmith. She wasn't fully trained. Not every town needs a blacksmith. It makes to import those goods. It makes sense, presumably, to import those goods from the railway. That's true. It might do. It might do. I think we're still going to put a blacksmith in, just because that lets us put in a fun NPC. But I think we have to figure out what's fun about the blacksmith, right? So we're going to put the blacksmith right here behind the tavern. And I think I want one more sort of house cluster guy here. behind some of these, just to further push along the idea that this is all a bit orderly here at the front. And we shall see how it all shapes out. Now let's put this here. Put a little road like that. Now, will this all make sense when I'm done? I don't know. I don't know. The thing about being creative is that you don't know what you're doing. If you meet a creative person who always knows what they're doing, maybe they're not actually all that creative. Maybe they're just sort of checking boxes. Because right now here, I'm like, hang on a minute. There needs to be a road here. This doesn't make sense. So let's delete this. Let's get a smaller brush in. Can we get the, this cluster? Ooh, yes. Yes. Look at that. Perfect. There we go. Oh yeah, mundane marble, full plate. I don't know if a full plate is a mundane marble. Like it is. I always think it's very telling of full plate that in CK it's an artifact that you have to commission because they were that rare. But I think for D&D terms, I think a mundane marble should feel more like a magic item. But it might be a +1 set of plate mail. In my world, masterwork isn't magic. It's something good smiths can make. And the same is true if you go and use the Arcane Forge that we put up on the Patreon. Put it up. Hell yeah. Grab some of these. Desaturate them a little. Sometimes I just like having all my shoppy sort of things next to each other. You know, but this is a tanner. We probably wouldn't have a tanner anywhere close by, so we're just going to stick the tanner, you know, here at the edge of town. Maybe sort of here. Now, is that in our action safe? Probably not. But I think that means we're shifting the action safe. We're preparing to cut off more of the top and bottom, knowing that our town sort of lives here in this quadrant of the page. It's a very large town. I thought it was relatively new. Yeah, it's 50 years old. Lake, people say? We could do a lake. Lake's not a bad idea. Lake over here? Lake over here? Close to the rails, right? They wouldn't if there is a lake nearby, they would have built fairly close to it. Put a little lake in. Oh yeah. That's fun. Punch the hole in our map. I think we're done with houses. Somebody was saying it's fairly large. Yeah, I think they're right. I don't think we're adding that much more. We're gonna get a couple of fancy houses in, and that's gonna be it. So let's get those fancy houses in. Now let's get some stairs up these hills. Something like that. And then we're going to get... These one I don't think need one. We're going to get one over here as well. Probably thereabouts. And we're going to put in a watchtower. Right? That makes sense to me. Watchtower. They have them in blue. We're going to get a blue one. We're going to try and color match it. Sort of there. Forest connect to the town? Yeah. Orchard up the hills. We could do an orchard. Will they need an orchard if the forest is right there? I don't know. How do orchards work? The main farming export in Iceland is fish. So, yeah, don't know about that. Don't know how any of those things work. We're going to put in a nice fancy house. Salka, are you still here? Did you take your headphones off and never put them back on? Because if so, I apologize. That was not my intention. Maybe this house is just as an orchard, you know, has some trees in it. Not like a big one, just like a little bit. Is that fun? Bum, bum. Mm. He's here. Okay, that's good. Get some trees in. Tree time. Maybe not a very organized orchard. We can put in a little pavilion. Always love. Dread gazebo. I think I need to go brush the landscapes. Is Victor in here? See ya, Afro Thunder. Thanks for joining. Anna's distracting you? God. Doesn't she know I'm streaming? You know, because I also just want to brush over this. This is the thing about doing the road first. But hey, you do what you gotta do. You do whatever inspires you, because that is the only way you get anything done. Because I also just want to run through and put mud everywhere, basically. But hang on, let me first go sort of get the nice grass in a few places. We can also get the opacity, and then, you know, we sort of brush like that, and then we can double brush it to get it at full opacity. And then we're gonna get the there's like a florist floor. I'm sick. What tool is this? This is the brush tool. Unless you mean the whole software, that's Inkarnate. We've got a couple of videos on the channel where I use Inkarnate and where I walk people through how to make town maps and stuff in it. Feel free to check those out. They're probably a little more digestible than this ill man trying his best and catching flack from putting the lake in the wrong location. I saw you, Afro Thunder. He's gone now, so we can backtalk them. That's what happens when you leave the stream, by the way. I just talk shit about you. I'm kidding. That's a joke. I never talk shit about any of you. We're going to brush over this this whole thing. This is going to be our forest floor. It's going to look dreadful right now, but trust me, once we've done a little bit more work on it, it's going to make sense. Trust me. The thing about brushing the landscapes in, it's a layered process, and every step of the way is a chance for your layers to not be ready, which means every step of the way is a chance for you to make it look just absolutely garbage. And that is a temptation that's never going to leave you. But over time, you will just sort of layer these things in, and that's where you're going to get a lot of your work done. Now I'm just sort of clicking rapidly, and I'm at like 45% opacity. So I'm sort of brushing the background, this green here, back into the map. And as I do, it's going to help blend everything we're doing. Right? And it's going to get rid of a lot of our harder edges. You can also not do it that way and just brush it at lower opacity to begin with. The thing is, I forgot that. But the second thing is that sometimes you're just leaving yourself space to work. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know exactly what you're doing at any given point. So you just sort of add bits on as you go. And don't really worry too much about doing it the right way. Because that way lies madness. Because who decides what the right way is? I certainly don't. I just sort of do stuff. And sometimes other people like it, and sometimes they don't. And that's fine. I think that's called being a human. We need to put some gross dirt in that big ditch. There's also like rocky floor. Street stones? No, we want like this one. Small debris. Is this... If I put this at full opacity. Yes. Okay, so let's shrink our brush size. Anyone still have undo anxiety? Because that hasn't left me. And go like that. Then we can grab this tool, put it at a smaller brush size. We can sort of... There's also a debris alpha, I think. No. Well, they should make one. Dark small debris. Oh yeah, let's get some of that in here. You know, just like that. Let's also get the big mud brush. Not... No, there's one with texture on it. That's the one we want. Ground with stones. Yes. Put it on either side of this thing. And we're just sort of going to brush here. You've made a lot of changes. Consider saving your work. Thank you. Inkarnate. Hi, Lightspeed Flash. Welcome to the show. I find that brown is gross, but it's also, for some reason, makes me believe in these maps more. So I tend to use it aggressively. Sometimes just brushing it over large swathes of the map. What I'll also do is I'll turn the opacity way up, shrink the brush size way down, and I'll sort of draw in the bits between the houses. And pretend like it's a road. There are more steps to it. We'll get there. There we are. There's a lot of people walking there. Then wouldn't be that much grass left. Now we're going to put some stones over it in a minute. This fancy road we did is going to be gone. Gonna read us. There we go. This here I'm going to make be like actual street texture. Am I doing too much? Maybe, but we'll add bits back in. Don't worry about it. Gross. Look at all that. Let's add a couple of more fancy houses up there. Trek being a tooltip. What kind of microphone am I using? This is something. I got it at an electronics store for about $40. It's called a Trust USB GTX something or other. It's not a fancy one. The one in the living room is fancy. That's a Shure SM7B. Those are pricey, but this one's perfectly suitable for most things, and I don't think there's a terrible difference for broadcasting, so I tend to use it here. Writing phase was last time. We'll do a little bit of writing before we're done today. Sorry, I'm sniffly, I'm sick, I'm super aware of it. I apologize. I can grab these, and this is the non-alpha one, but then there's also an alpha one. An alpha in this case doesn't mean the mommy wolf. It means with or without background. Is there not a Dark Streetstones alpha? Yes, no. That's Dark Streetstones broken. Oh, that's the alpha one. Okay. You can put them like that, and then they go over the little dirt, right? And connect all the houses this way. Now, obviously, we could decide not to put roads on all of this. And that would be a perfectly realistic solution. Not every road would have not every house would have like a dedicated road for it. Nothing wrong with that solution at all. There is a reason why I'm not doing it, and I'm not going to tell you. No, I genuinely don't know. I'm just sort of messing around. Oh, that one I need to redo. I need to just erase it. There we go. Look at that. We're going to put a little bit of low opacity dirt sort of all over this. Because I don't think this would be the cleanest road in the world. I think it's just a bit crap. We're also going to put some sand around our little lake. It doesn't have to be everywhere, but I am going to put it in some of the places. We're going to put the opacity a bit up, and we're just going to do a little beach. Cute little beach. Some people live for being called a cute little beach, but here we are. There we go. Now, I said I was going to put a rich house up here. And I'm going to do that right now. I said that earlier as well, but again, I apologize. I am delirious. Without the use of my faculties. Etc. This one I'm just going to do a bit of a box. I'm going to put it like that. I'm going to make it sort of curve around here, and then I'm just going to go... Nerd. There we go. chuck some trees down. Make the grass extra green in there, because they have a gardener and probably pesticides. And there we go. That's a nice town. Gravel under the rail track. Yeah, patches of green that aren't stopped on. See, what I often do is I then grab this brush again, and I sort of recolor in a bit of the green here to create these little nooks of, like, gardens and stuff. And we can even grab this one. That's too much. So we'll do one pass with this. You know. And sometimes it makes sense to me to do it this way, sometimes I do it another way. But the thing that it does, the reason I like doing it, is that when you zoom out, it just feels cleaner, right? So that's often what I'm chasing is I want it to feel nicer to look at. I want it to be a more sort of immediately understandable map. And sometimes that's all I'm after. Because again, utility is very important to me when doing these things. Now, would this mean they would need professional gardener and pesticides and it's unrealistic? I don't know. Probably. But when my players say that, I just drop kick them. No, I'm kidding. I usually just sort of mumble something about not having enough time, but the model not being fully painted. And I go in, put in a little textured grass brush, and it all comes together. You know? Just a little love and care to sort of elevate these things. Often doesn't take much to suddenly feel like, oh, this is a pretty little town. You know what I mean? I want to make a little dirt path up here to meet this lad. Look at that. Ain't that nice? Cemetery, necropolis, catacombs. We could put a church in town. I tend to put a church in every town. That's not a bad idea. Somebody also said gravel under the rail tracks. You just mean here? We could do that. Hang on. Let's put a pin in the church. I'm still in this mode. God, Darren Cobb knows how to bop, you know? A little bit of this here. Gross. I love it. Cookie Dude, you made it. Hey, we're making pretty good progress here. Church in town. I think it will be a small one. I don't think they have a very fancy church. We can stick it on one of these hills that hasn't been claimed. Maybe it's a bit out of town. It's not uncommon for, when you go look at your own local ham. Oh, hang on. What did I say about the action safe? That's not going to work. I'll stick it over here then. One of these sides. Just here, maybe? A lot of the times when you go look at your own local hometowns and stuff, you find that the church is often a little separated from the rest, and that often has to do with just the way the towns were built out. Churches used to control different parts of towns, so the town center and the church, to you, they all feel like downtown. But if you think about how the town existed back then, a lot of the times you come to discover that these things are far apart. There's a plaque in downtown Reykjavik, venerating this guy who wanted to be a police officer, and he decided to walk all the way to work to Reykjavik. The plaque is in downtown Reykjavik, but back then Reykjavik was, further away. And they were like, this guy's commute was insane. He walked 10 minutes to work. It's incredible. But there it is. we're going to put a little hill here. And we're going to put into the hill a crypt. Just like that. Nerd. Oh, it's the wrong color hill. Gross. Get it out of here. We want different green. Ah, screw it. Let's grab the pen tool. There we go. Perfect. And on top of here, we'll just stick the really bright color. Now, there we go. We have the most of the makings of a town, I think. We just need a crap load of trees. We can go here to the tree brush, go down here to advanced, multiple, and placement, area, density, dense, area big, and then we just sort of blip. No, I try to make sure I place it so that the hills are visible. And then we sort of plop them around. And then we don't have to place every single tree like some kind of insane person. We can just sort of brush them on. And the good thing about this is it knows what area it's placed in. So if you draw on top, it doesn't really add that much of like a thing you've already brushed, you know? So you can just sort of plop them down. And then if you get a little tree that's not to your liking, you can always just grab it and move it. Like the brush doesn't lock anything in place. And I think that's brilliant. We can shrink this even... Oh no. We want to shrink the area, not the stamp size. Because then we are messing with the stamp size of the trees. There we go. We'll need a little road for this church. This, that, no. Is this? No. Is this? Yes. There we go. Church. Got its own little road here. Look at that. And then we grab this little brush. And we put some trees on this hill. We put some trees over here. Oh! Save. I did it. Yes, there is an inn. It's right here, opposite the train station. This is what you get when you miss staff meetings, Cookie Dude. Another thing we can do is we can sort of just delete them, obviously. We can use them to hide our sort of rougher borders if we want. We can place them sort of where we thought they were missing. But another thing we can do is we can realize, hang on, why are there so many trees next to the logging camp? That makes no sense. But then they wouldn't be completely gone either, would they? So we go get a tree stump. Tree stump. Stumpy, stumpy, stump. Where's the tree stump? Uh-huh. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Maybe if I scrolled slower. There it is. And we can use the same trick. Multiple. Density, lower. Ooh, very dense. Even lower. Here. Very dense. Even lower. You know? Now we're like, oh, they're cutting down the trees, you know? And now it's far clearer that this is a logging camp. It's also far clearer that we sort of haphazardly brushed over a lot of this. But that's okay. Look at that! Town! Town. Brain achieved town. You think the church's door is on the other end? Is the bell at the back or the front? Hang on, I'm going to Google churches right now. My experience, you walk in where the church is highest. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you do. Church. Church. Bell at front. Beautiful church. Downtown Iceland. Very good church. As you walk in here at the front where the bell tower is. Yes. I think the church is the right way around. Should probably cut some of these trees here around the train tracks. This one as well. They would have trimmed some of that. We can also grab this little boy. Here, boy. We can sort of plop him down, you know, to indicate that they cut down trees to make this possible. That one's too straight. Too straight. I think this is kind of nice. I think we made a little town here. Somebody said fishing. We can do little docks. Last time we had a lot of polls. We're not doing that many polls right now. Polls as in to vote, not as in you know, Polish people. Pretty face, but we want map. I'm sorry, Anna. But feel free to chuck in compliments anytime you like. There we go. A few more trees in here. Yeah, look at that. Lovely little town. Dillhorn. Dumb name, isn't it? Dillhorn. That's a ravine under the track. Correct. Track said there should be a bridge that goes over, and I like the idea, so... The directory knows what he's doing. I doubt it. Not right now. I've got hardly any brain left. All of it was used in trying to acquire food for my sick girlfriend, while I myself was sick. Less sick than her, so it made sense that I went to get the food. Anybody live in that ravine? Yes! The village elder! We forgot about Cook. Cook lives in the ravine. God, Trek, I could kiss you on your Modron head. Shaq. Hell yeah. Let's put some smoke in. You know, there are these cloud assets. They're very thick, so what we can do is you can turn the opacity way down. And you can sort of chuck them over the map. Make them really big. And they can be useful if you're trying to frame, like, your eye. So you sort of draw contrast out of the parts of the frame that you're not wanting people to look at as much. Right? And then it sort of centers, like a vignette. No kisses unless you're on my Patreon. Alright, everybody, get on Trek's Patreon. Make it darker. Oh. Oh, actually, if I grab this one and just lower the brightness a bit, increase the brush size. That should work, right? Yeah, that's better. Another thing we can do, other than the big clouds, is we get these little wispy smoke trail things. I find they add a lot. So you grab these, you stick them at the regular size, You can have them be at 100% opacity, and you just put them on the strompar, which is Icelandic for chimneys. Strompar, strompur, stromp, strompur here. You put the random stamp one on, so it sort of grabs different ones, so they're different lengths. And oh my god, does the town come alive. Now, sometimes I feel like they're a little bit too bright, so I grab the opacity, and I sort of shrink them just a little bit, so that you can see through them. And that allows me to go grab the big one, have it be at full opacity, even scale it up a little bit, and put that on stuff like the blacksmith or the inn. And then they feel more like, ooh, that's industry, you know? Same with this. Put a big one on this strompur. Funny word, isn't it? I fucking love it. You can put them here. Now, careful with these not to rotate them too much, because it'll look funny if they're all blowing in different directions, because wind. Yeah, Goo Master, Trex Encounter Calculator is amazing. Stick them back to 100, stick the opacity back at 80. Where'd they go? Oh, it's at 1. There we go. And then we can start putting them back down. And just sort of putting them on various houses. You don't need to put them on all of them. But having a few, it just kind of brings the map alive a little bit, you know? Then, you know, you get the tanners. That one, 100%. The hunter's estate. Now, I don't see a strompar on this one, so but I am going to chuck some on. Just pretend like I found some, you know what I mean? That blocks it too much. Just stick one there as well. Just a little bit of detail, sort of elevating the map. And it kind of makes the whole thing feel a little industrious, which helps because, you know, we've got trains and stuff here. This is Atroxia. They have guns in this city or town. Atroxia is all about industrialization. They got firearms, printing presses. Even the big cities have hazies, which is like a car, a horseless engine, HC, but they pronounce it as hazy. Look at that. Ain't that just gorgeous? Strumped. Oh, we got a few missing here. We can chuck a few more in. And we made a little town. Oh, we're gonna put a big one here. Not for any sort of industrialized reasons, just because I think it's gonna draw attention to the house there. This is Inkarnate. Hello, everybody. We are in Inkarnate. What am I going to call people from here? From Dilhorn? Dilhornicans? Dilhornites? Dilhorner, probably. And a few more. These are at 100% opacity. That's okay. Little town. Oh, that's just the cutest. I'm really happy with this. So, are we missing anything? Charcoal burner. Sorry, charcoal burner, I mean. I don't know what you're talking about. Dillers. Hornies. Dillweeds. Those are all funny. What are we missing? We got a blacksmith. We got an inn. We got the train station. We have a logging camp. We have a hunting estate here. We have a church and necropolis, or a crypt. We got a couple of manors for the people who own the hunting the hunting, or oversee this part of Standard Pulp, and the people who oversee this part of Ariston Railway Company. I'm actually gonna dye this house. Dye house! There we go. And then we have the town itself with this sort of hunting company. Do we want that to be red? I don't think we need it to be. There we go, that's nice. What do they export? I don't know if they export anything. I think their main existence is to keep up this railway track. Church graveyard. I put a little crypt in. I think that's enough. Dye makers. Stables. Yes. Establos. Do we have a sawmill? I imagine these sort of have that kind of woodworking stuff. I'm not going to have a separate sawmill character, probably. A lot of the times I'm just thinking of what am I keying on the map. Stables is good. We can put stables in. I'm certain there's like a stables thing. Establos. Negative. Watermill. Exporting wood. Yeah, whatever they do export, it's probably wood. How do I distribute maps like this to the players? I save it as a PNG, and then I put it on the Discord chat with them. I have a Discord, and it's got a chat for when we talk. It's got a chat for when I book what sessions are when. Players can't type in that one. I just say, we're playing on this time in this place for this session in this campaign. And then 3, I have handouts, and I put stuff in there. Very simple. Carpenters here, like we could put one of these buildings in if we really wanted. Like here, and then just remove that log. I think that's fine if we want the sawmill in there. Stables. I don't know if any of these assets are like perfect for stables. Just like a barn, right? Selka's gonna come in here and scream at me. It's nothing like a barn. We'll put a barn in. That's gonna be our stables. We'll put a little house next to the barn. Make it underneath the barn. Put a bit of smoke coming out of it. Stables. I think we're done with this, right? Let me go export it. I don't mean the barn assets, Selka. I mean stables. Make you sell charcoal? I guess. We could put some kind of charcoal burner lad in. Let's just put this thing in here. I use that asset all the time. I love it. I have no idea what it's supposed to be, but I love it. Here we go. I'll get a big smoke plume. Charcoal burner. Excellent. Oh no, it's under the trees. Ah, Dickens. There we go. Charcoal burner. And actually, let's grab this cloud thing. Desaturate the crap out of it. Make it blurry. Make it sort of over there. There we go. Charcoal burner. Bunch of smoke. Stables are often in a barn. All right. How did I make the sounds in the recent video? The gun shooting one is extracted out of the Patriot. and I've sort of moved them around and stitched them together a little bit to get the tempo I want it. The Wendigo roar I made by piecing together, I think it was 18 different sound effects, one of which was a Wendigo roar that I thought was pretty good, but I wanted to sound a little bit more in a specific way. So I put this breath at the start of it, this deer mating call at the end of it, and I put in some instrumental stingers in the middle to make it just reach a register that we're not used to hearing from animals. That's sort of where I left it. Played around with that, lowered the volumes, and peaked them around. Do I do the legend in Inkarnate or later in a separate program? I do not do anything more than this in Inkarnate. I use Inkarnate to make the image, but I'm proficient in Photoshop and I have a license for it, so that's what I'm going to do. Right now I'm going to save a copy of this. Go here to Export. Hang on. I'm going to click on 8K so I get it in huge quality. I'll click Export Image. Save and export, and then it's going to start cooking away. And meanwhile, I'm going to talk to you. Hi, chat. How you doing? Painted my fingernails the other day. I went to a Christmas party, but the one of the people couldn't make it, and she's very goth. And I was like, I'm going to... Ooh. We might go out of sync here. I was like, I'll represent your gothiness by painting my nails in your honor. This is not the first time I paint my nails. I do like the way it looks. I just usually can't be arsed. In November? Right? God, who does a Christmas party in November? In their defense, they're going on a very long Christmas holiday, so I think for a lot of people this was their last day in the office. So fair enough. They were like, we want to do a Christmas party before we all leave. Oh, that was fine. I'm usually of the opinion that people start Christmasing too early, but then again, I think I'm a bit of a Grinch. Did I ever experiment with Canvas of Kings? No. In general, if I have a tool that I think does the job pretty decently, I tend not to mess around with a whole bunch of other stuff, just because I'm like, I have this, and I'm happy with it, and I'm using it. There are plenty of times where I end up being unhappy and trying new stuff, but in general, as a point of fact, I often find the friction of learning new stuff is more than figuring out how to do what I want to do in the thing I'm using. And that's true of the systems I play, but it's also true of the software I use. I've been using Photoshop for like 10 years, and I've been using Premiere for 15. Speaking of, I've brought this into Photoshop. And here we can start putting name tags on things. So we know this is called Dillhorn Train Station. And this is the Bookerly font, but we can also do it in the font I've been using now in the zine for things is called Adhesive Number 8 Regular. Very memorable name. And we can do it in... Oh yes, so this is the 8K export, but I'm going to shrink the canvas. Or rather, I'm going to go Control-N, and I'm going to make it be letter size. And then I can take this and literally just drag and drop it over. And we're not going to bother saving the PNG. We've got the PNG. We don't need it right now. Then we can shrink this down. And look, it fits almost perfectly. Look at that. So now I know that at 300 pixels per inch, this is like print quality ready. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just because I can. Now there may be a little hitch in our get along by zooming in after we zoomed out. So actually, I'm going to go grab the PNG one more time. Step by. Hang on, that's frustrating. Here we go. So about yay. And now if I type on this Dillhorn train station, we can put it into, 16-point font, and then I know that that's legible on a letter page. The inbuilt text in Inkarnate Jisari Iguala is perfectly fine. It's just as a matter of preference that I like to control the fonts and I like to control the drop shadow. And since I'm doing it for PDF products and since I know Photoshop, then I'm usually very happy to get to do these things in here. I'm also faster, but quality-wise, no difference. It's just text. But I like having full control over the things I do. Here we go. We're going to do... We can control the distance, right? On the drop shadow, we can set it to be whatever we want. Here we go. And that just means it's more legible. If I put it over white stuff, it's going to be more legible. We can also go in here and click on this button. And we can say, don't auto this. Make it be, 14 points. It just makes it a little bit tighter. And now we've got Dillhorn train station up here. Now we're going to need to put names for the inn and pub. Pub and inn. This needs a name, so feel free to suggest in chat. We're going to need to name the blacksmith. We're going to need to name the stables. This here, I know, is a church of St. Arthur. We got there. We're going to need a name for this manor house and the other manor house. Maybe it's just the name of whoever lives there. We know that this here is Cook's house. This is just going to be standard pulp Dillhorn HQ. We might just put that over the sort of bulk of it. Put a charcoal burner label on here. How easy would it be to make a nighttime version of this map? Fairly easy. Once you open it back up in Inkarnate, there's a setting where you can put on night mode, and it'll just sort of desaturate everything, make it all blue. And then what you do is you put in light sources, and that sort of spills over into things and lights them up again. And it usually looks pretty nice. I did a nighttime version of the train map that is in the first issue of the Zine, available now on the Mystic Arts Patreon, and the second issue of the Zine, available now on the Mystic Arts Patreon. And both of them I just sort of put in light sources, and they kind of spilled over and made it look decently nice. I have not used Leaflet Zero Sources. Mostly just, I don't like messing around with too many plugins in Obsidian. I want it to be quick to load, and I want to only really type stuff in there, because I know video editing software, photo editing software, so I'm usually fairly happy just checking those things in. You're welcome, Cool Story, Bratva. Never call anything the thirsty blank, unless you want your players to make a lot of jokes. Well, I like laughing. So this is going to be the Thirsty Woodsman. Now, the players must tell me jokes. Somebody said Wayward Woodsman or something? Wayward Woodcutter? I'm just going to call it the Wayward Stables. Now, our text is going to be blocking some of our image. That's fine. The point of the map is to be navigable, right? Axesmith, maybe, for the blacksmith. Something that makes us tell us, oh, we're in a town. Hang on, I'm sorry, I did the face thing again. I apologize. There we go. Thirsty Woodsman, Wayward Stables. This is not going to be here. Hang on. Hang on. Did we have a name for whoever runs the estate? Amick. Agatha Amick. So we're going to hop back over. This is the Amick estate. What's the name of the hunting guild? Pinewold. Let's call it that. Pinewold Manor. That's fun. This is going to be the Church of St. Arthur. We're just going to keep it that way. That's perfectly fine. This is not the Amick estate. This is the hunting guild. We need a name for the hunting guild. Do we know anything about the hunting guild? We know it's run by Osmond and Poirlina. But I think we can get a better name than that. Vagrants and Vagabonds? Do you guys not like the Thirsty Woodsman? You can tell me that you hate my ideas. That's okay. I can take it. I can take it just fine. Meats Butcher Shop. There we go. What else did we have in here? Tavern. Storm Crusher runs the Thirsty Woodsman. Hell yeah. Oh, Gibby's Shop. We need to put Gibby's Shop in here. Call one of the Hunter's Mark. Sold. No? Hang on. Not source. There we go. Harkentare. I'm gonna call it the Harkentare Lodge. Just because that tells me that is the thing we're talking about. Gibby's Shop. Is that this house over here? I think it's plenty of things we have now. Right? Didn't take long at all. And then if I save this, I'll have a letter size version with all the text on it. And then I'll also have the 8K full JPEG, which will look a little bit like this. And that way I can zoom right in. So often somebody asked, like, when do I present these things to the players? I can put it in the Discord chat, but I also have a TV in my living room that faces towards the D&D table. It's on a little arm so that we can, like, swivel it out to face the couch. But most of the time it faces the D&D table. And then I just zoom in on the map. And I say, you guys are over here. And you walk this way. And they go, oh, yeah, yeah. And then they get it. I think it's a pretty decent job we've done here. That's Dillhorn. I talked about wanting to get some quests in and stuff like that, but I don't know if we have time for that right now. I don't like the Axesmith. That's the name of the blacksmith. So we need a new smithy name. Scrolling up chat. Sallow Suit. No, these are all pub names. Spurs and Saddle. Wayward Woodcutter. The Singing Hammer. Alright, we'll do that. You get it, Scott Hughes. There's no 8 in Singing Hammer, believe it or not. There we go. And there's an errant space in there. What do we name this person who runs the Singing Hammer? What else do we need? Pinewold Manor. Yeah, we'll need to figure out who runs this outpost of the rail company. Fire at the charcoal burner. Hang on, we can do that. Quest idea. We did a lot of this stuff last time. I don't think we need to go crazy much into it, but yeah, the Red Dead towns I think will definitely work for our purposes. Well, there we have it, folks. We've streamed for quite a while now. I doubt we're gonna carry on a lot longer. We need a name for this blacksmith. Carlsbad the Dwarf. That's good. That's a good idea too, Private 13. Hell yeah. Look at that. We've done a whole town now. We've put it up here into Photoshop. Enough to fill a page and a PDF. And we'll list these things out and create a little text for them later on, especially once we have a bit more of an outline for the adventures that are going to be going on. We can come up with quest ideas at any point in later streams, but for now, I think what we're probably going to be doing is making sure that we build out the big quests we want players to do, because the town's job is going to have to be to send players to those quest locations. So we need to figure out what the quest locations are. Now that we have the town to a certain degree in our head, we're going to be able to easily go, ooh, we should tie this into town. We should tie this in. And then we sort of knit the whole thing together. So next stream, next Monday, I did this one while sick, so you bet your ass I'm going to do another one next Monday. Abby's probably going to be sitting behind me at that point, because she's done with band practice now for a while. But she won't be sick, so she'll be allowed to sit behind me. Right now, she was feeling a little self-conscious, and at the same time, I also was just, there'll be noise if you're coughing and sneezing, and I'm a little better, but I fully expect that I'll be coughing and sneezing in a couple of days. Until then, I'm going to go back to work on the zine, get issue 2 done. The zine is now available. Issue number 1 is available on the Patreon, and issue number 2 should be coming out this week. If you're backed at the Adept tier or above, you should be able to pick up your copy of the zine as soon as it comes out, as well as any other PDFs. You also get access to bonus videos and monsters we make, the Arcane Forge, the Warlord, and the entire back catalog. Come join us next Monday for when we do the hex crawl that's going to surround this town. It's going to be built out all around Dillhorn. We're going to have a town in the middle, and then we're going to do hexes for the forest on either side. and we'll build them out. And then over time, we'll do more streams. We'll build out 5-room dungeons so that each of those locations, maybe one of them is 15 rooms, maybe one of them is 20, 30. I don't know. That might be the finale of the adventure. But we'll build them all out so we create a whole sandbox from level 1 to level 3 over the course of all those streams. Ideally with chat. Last time we did a whole bunch of polls. This time we did fewer of them. I'm certain we'll go back to doing more polls next time. That'll be next Monday at the same time, starting 2 hours before whatever time it is now. I'll make sure to make the stream public with a little bit of advance so you can get your notifications and stuff like that. But until next time, hang on, no, that's not how. And that's where we'll pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend. And if you're feeling generous, go check out our Patreon, where you can make sure to back us directly so that you support us as we go doing this full time. And then I say something else. Oh, God. If you're feeling especially generous, go like this stream, comment underneath, and do all the YouTube things, subscribe and all that. Until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.